All right. So have you ever wondered what really separates those like super successful people from, well, everyone else? Is it just luck? You know?
Yeah.
Maybe they were born with some kind of success gene. Or could it be something you can actually learn? I was thinking about this the other day while I was rereading Napoleon Hill's classic Think and Grow Rich. And let me tell you, this book does not mess around. It dives deep, like way deep into the minds of some of history's biggest hitters. Think Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, all to uncover those secrets to their crazy success. And Hill was actually inspired by Andrew Carnegie himself to write this book. Can you imagine having the steel tycoon as your personal mentor? Hill spent over 2 decades, can you believe that, 20 years, researching and interviewing hundreds of successful people, all to compile these principles. I get this. And he suggests we don't just passively read this book. He wants us to really study it, like a chapter a night, highlighting those key takeaways and truly absorbing the information. So you're ready to unlock your inner millionaire.
Let's unpack some of the juiciest bits from Think and Grow Rich. Those nuggets that really made me stop and think. First up, we've got burning desire. And Hill isn't talking about that mild, oh, it'd be nice to have that kind of wanting. He's talking about an intense, almost all-consuming desire for what you want. It's like the fuel that propels your rocket ship to success, right? He even shares this crazy anecdote about a little girl who straight up whipped a grown man simply through the sheer force of her will. Now, I'm not saying we should all go around whipping people into submission to get what we want, but it does illustrate the power of unwavering determination. What's that one thing you want so badly you can practically taste it? That's the energy Hill says we need to tap into. But it's not enough to just sit around and wish for things to magically happen, right? Hill says you've got to get crystal clear about exactly what you want and then write down a solid plan to achieve it. He lays out 6 specific steps to turn that desire into cold, hard cash. You write down the exact amount of money you desire. Then you got to figure out what you're willing to give in return for that money. Nothing comes free. All right. Next, set a definite deadline. No more someday goals. Then you got to create a clear plan to start taking action. Whether you feel ready or not, write it all down in a clear, concise statement. Amount, terms, date, the whole shebang. And finally, the magic sauce. Read that statement out loud twice a day, every single day. This reminds me of the time I decided I was going to learn how to bake the perfect sourdough bread. I had been intimidated for ages, all of that talk about starters and proofing and whatnot, but I was determined. So I found this amazing online course, wrote down my goal of baking a beautiful crusty loaf by the end of the month, and even printed out a fancy recipe and stuck it on my fridge. And guess what? By sticking to my plan, I actually did it. Okay, maybe the first few loaves were a little dense, let's say, but I kept at it. And eventually, I was pulling out these gorgeous golden brown loaves that made my whole house smell amazing. The point is, having that clear written plan and reminding myself of it daily made all the difference. All right, so we've got the burning desire, the crystal clear plan. What's next? Well, Hill says you got to unleash the power of imagination. He calls it the workshop of the mind, the place where those million-dollar ideas are born. Take Asa Candler, for example. He bought the recipe for Coca-Cola for a measly $2,300 back in the day. But it was his imagination, his marketing genius, that transformed that simple syrup into a global empire. It's amazing what can happen when you dare to see the potential in something that others might overlook, right? And here's another story that always stuck with me. It's about this salesman who lost his job during the Great Depression. Talking about a tough break. But instead of wallowing in despair, he took a step back and thought, hey, I'm actually really good with numbers. I could turn that into something. So he used his bookkeeping skills to start a new business, helping other businesses manage their finances. And not only did he find success, but he even ended up helping his son land an amazing job, thanks to his newfound connections. It's proof that sometimes those setbacks can lead to even greater opportunities if you use your imagination to navigate them, right? Okay, so imagination is key. But Hill is quick to point out that you need the right kind of knowledge to back it up. He makes a distinction between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. I can tell you all about the history of ancient Egypt. But That's not going to help me pay my bills, right? It's specialized knowledge that attracts money, especially when it's organized and put into action through practical plans. Like, I might know a lot about different types of cheese, but if I want to make a living from it, I need to become a master cheesemaker, maybe even learn about marketing and running a business. Hill really hammers home the importance of being a lifelong learner. The world is constantly changing, and to stay ahead of the curve, you've got to keep acquiring new knowledge and skills. And it's never too late to start, right? I mean, just look at me. I recently decided to learn how to play the ukulele. It's been challenging, but also super fun. It keeps my brain sharp. Maybe, just maybe, I'll be jamming on the beach in Hawaii someday. Speaking of learning and growth, Hill was a huge believer in the power of the mastermind. He believed that surrounding yourself with the right people can absolutely supercharge your success. Think about Henry Ford, for instance. He was tight with geniuses like Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and Luther Burbank. They bounced ideas off each other, collaborated, and inspired each other to reach incredible heights. Talk about a dream team, right? And this mastermind principle isn't just for titans of industry. I remember when I was first starting out as a freelance writer, I felt so lost and alone, like I was just flailing around in the dark. But then I joined this amazing online writing group. It was a total game changer. These people were so supportive and insightful. They helped me brainstorm ideas, refine my writing, and just stay motivated when those inevitable rejections started piling up. I honestly don't think I would have made it without them. It really showed me the power of having a supportive community, people who understand your struggles and push you to be your best. But there's one more ingredient in Hill's success formula that always kind of mystified me, and that's the sixth sense. He describes it as this intuitive power that goes beyond logic and reason, almost like a direct connection to the source of all knowledge. It's like you just know this something without knowing how you know it, you know? He even tells this story about this artist who would close his eyes while painting, saying it helped him access what he called superior intelligence. It's like he was tapping into some secret frequency that most of us aren't even aware of. Now, I got to admit, this whole sixth sense thing is a little out there for me. I tend to be more of a show me the data kind of person. But Hill insists that it's a real and powerful force that anyone can access with the right mindset and techniques. He even claims that many of history's greatest inventions and discoveries were inspired by this intuitive power. It's definitely food for thought, right? All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Burning desire, a crystal clear plan, the power of imagination, specialized knowledge, the mastermind group, and even a touch of the mysterious sixth sense. There's one more crucial ingredient we need to add to the mix: persistence. Hill really stresses that it's not just about working hard. It's about that unwavering determination to see your plans through, no matter what obstacles get thrown your way. You know, like those marathon runners who just keep pushing, even when their legs are screaming at them to stop. That's persistence. He shares this incredible story about Fannie Hurst, who faced years of rejection before finally becoming a successful writer. Can you imagine submitting your work over 36 times before getting published? I mean, I probably would have given up after like 3 rejections, maybe 4, if I was feeling really optimistic. But Hurst, she just kept going. She had that fire in her belly, that belief in herself and her work that wouldn't let her quit. And that's what separates the winners from the wannabes, right? It's about having that unshakable faith in your vision, even when everyone else is telling you it's a crazy idea. It's about being willing to burn those ships, to commit fully to your dream, knowing there's no turning back. That's a powerful image, isn't it? Burning those ships. It's like saying, I'm all in, no matter what. No. But let's be real for a second. Persistence is hard. It's easy to get discouraged, to let those doubts creep in, to wonder if maybe everyone else is right and you're just chasing a pipe dream. And that's where fear comes in. Hill calls them the 6 ghosts of fear, those sneaky little voices in our heads that try to hold us back from achieving our full potential. He starts with the fear of poverty, which, let's face it, is pretty universal, right? We all want financial security, a roof over our heads, food on the table. But Hill argues that this fear can be paralyzing, keeping us stuck in dead-end jobs or preventing us from taking risks. That could lead to greater rewards. It's like we're so afraid of failing that we never even try to succeed. Then there's the fear of criticism. This one's a real killer, especially in today's social media obsessed world. We're constantly bombarded with opinions and judgments, and it's easy to let that fear of disapproval stifle our creativity and prevent us from expressing our true selves. I used to be terrified of public speaking. Like, my heart would race, my palms would sweat. I would literally get butterflies in my stomach. And it all stemmed from this fear of being judged, people thinking I was stupid or boring. But eventually I realized that this fear was holding me back from sharing my ideas and connecting with others. So I started small, taking baby steps, and gradually I faced that fear head on. And you know what? It wasn't nearly as scary as I had built it up to be in my head. Next up is the fear of ill health. This one can be tricky because obviously we should all take care of our physical well-being. But Hill warns against letting this fear consume us, leading to hypochondria and unnecessary anxiety. It's about finding that balance between being mindful of our health without letting it dictate our every move. And then there's a fear of loss of love. Ouch, right? This one cuts deep. We all crave connection, intimacy, belonging. But sometimes the fear of rejection or heartbreak can make us build walls around our hearts, preventing us from experiencing the fullness of love. Hill emphasizes that true love is about freedom and mutual respect, not fear and codependency. As we get older, the fear of old age starts to creep in. We worry about wrinkles, gray hairs, declining health, and becoming irrelevant. But Hill reminds us that aging can also be a time of immense growth, wisdom, and fulfillment. It's about shifting our perspective and embracing the beauty of each stage of life. And finally, the fear of death, the big one. This is a fear that has haunted humanity since the dawn of time. But Hill argues that death is a natural part of life, and instead of fearing it, we should focus on living our lives to the fullest, making each day count. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, great. Easier said than done, right? And these fears are deeply ingrained in our psyche. How do we just magically make them disappear? Well, Hill offers a powerful antidote: decisiveness. He says that the moment you make a firm decision to overcome a fear, you essentially shift your mindset from doubt and worry to action and empowerment. You're no longer paralyzed by fear. You're actively choosing to confront it. It's like, imagine you're standing at the edge of a diving board, looking down at the water below. You know you want to jump, but that fear is gripping you, making your legs wobble. But then you take a deep breath and you decide you're going to jump. And in that moment of decision, something shifts. The fear doesn't disappear entirely, but it no longer controls you. You're in charge now. So we've got burning desire, a crystal clear plan, the power of imagination, specialized knowledge, a supportive mastermind group, persistence. And we're kicking those fears to the curb with decisiveness. It's starting to sound like a pretty solid recipe for success, right? But there's another layer to this whole success thing that Hill emphasizes, and that's the importance of what he calls organized capital. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, great, another lecture about capitalism, hear me out. Hill isn't just talking about personal wealth. He's talking about the infrastructure, systems, and businesses that create opportunities and improve our lives. Think about it this way. We all benefit from organized capital, whether we realize it or not. The food we eat, the clothes we wear, the technology we use, the roads we drive on, the hospitals we go to, all of this is made possible by the complex networks and systems created by organized capital. Now, I'm not saying that capitalism is perfect. It has its flaws, for sure. But Hill's point is that it's not just about getting rich ourselves. It's about contributing to a system that benefits everyone. He uses this thought experiment in the book, asking us to imagine trying to gather the ingredients for a simple breakfast without the infrastructure provided by organized capital. Like, can you imagine having to go out and milk your own cow, harvest your own wheat, and grind it into flour just to make a piece of toast? Talk about a time-consuming breakfast routine. So next time you hear someone ranting about evil corporations or greedy capitalists, take a moment to appreciate the role that organized capital plays in our everyday lives. It's not about worshiping money. It's about recognizing the power of collective effort and innovation to create a better world. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, right? We've talked about burning desire, planning, imagination, specialized knowledge, the mastermind, persistence, conquering fears, and even the role of organized capital. But here's where things get really interesting, because Hill dives into this whole other realm of the mind, this hidden power that he believes is the key to unlocking our true potential. And that, my friends, is the power of the subconscious mind. Hill describes the subconscious mind as like this incredible force that operates beneath the surface of our conscious awareness. It's like the engine room of our minds, constantly working behind the scenes, processing information, shaping our beliefs, and influencing our actions. And the crazy thing is, we can actually program this subconscious mind for success. He argues that by understanding the principles he outlines in the book, things like having a burning desire, setting clear goals, cultivating a positive mindset, and believing in ourselves, we can actually influence our subconscious mind to attract the people, resources, and opportunities we need to achieve our dreams. It's almost like we have this inner genie that's just waiting for us to give it the right commands. Now, I know this might sound a little woo-woo, but Hill was a big believer in the power of autosuggestion. This is basically the process of repeatedly feeding our minds positive affirmations and beliefs. Like, if we constantly tell ourselves we're capable of achieving great things, our subconscious mind will eventually start to believe it too. And once our subconscious mind is on board, it's like things start to fall into place. We start attracting the right people into our lives. We start seeing opportunities that we might have missed before. And we start taking those inspired actions that lead to amazing results. But Hill also emphasizes that faith is a crucial ingredient in this whole process. Now, he's not talking about blind faith or religion dogma. He's talking about that deep down belief in ourselves, in our abilities, and in the power of the universe to support our dreams. It's like, remember that time I decided to write a children's book? I had this idea swirling around in my head for years, but I kept putting it off, telling myself I wasn't a good enough writer or that nobody would want to read it. But then I decided to just go for it. I made a commitment to myself to write every day, even if it was just for 15 minutes. And as I started writing, I realized that, hey, this is actually pretty good. And you know what? I ended up finishing that book and it got published. Kids actually loved it. Now, I'm not saying that it was all sunshine and rainbows. There were definitely moments of doubt, moments when I wanted to give up. But I kept reminding myself of my goal. I kept believing in myself and I kept taking action. And eventually, those doubts faded away. And I was left with this incredible feeling of accomplishment. So, what's the takeaway from all this? What's the big aha moment?
Well, I think Hill's trying to tell us that we are all capable of achieving extraordinary things. We all have this incredible potential locked away inside of us, just waiting to be unleashed. But it's up to us to unlock it. It's up to us to cultivate that burning desire, to set clear goals, to believe in ourselves, and to take consistent action. He reminds us that success isn't something that happens overnight. It's a journey, a process of growth and evolution. Along the way, we're going to face challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But it's how we respond to those challenges that truly defines us. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like you're not living up to your full potential, remember the words of Napoleon Hill. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What are your dreams? What are your goals? What are those things you've been putting off because you're afraid of failing or because you don't think you're good enough? And then ask yourself this question.
What if I'm wrong? What if I'm actually capable of achieving more than I ever thought possible? What if I actually have the power to create the life of my dreams? Once you start asking yourself those questions, once you start believing in yourself, once you start taking action, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little deep dive into the wisdom of Napoleon Hill. It's a book that has truly changed my life, and I hope it will inspire you to unlock your own potential and achieve extraordinary things. Until next time, keep thinking big, dreaming bold, and growing richer in every way.